Good afternoon here on the East Coast, or good morning, wherever you are. My name is Lyle Ishida. I serve as the FCC's Consumer Affairs and Outreach Division Chief. We are a division within the FCC's Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau. And I just wanted to say thank you very much for joining us on this important event. We thank you for your interest and we thank you for your previous collaboration and for the work we're going to do together to make sure that we can build awareness of the ACP's wind down procedures. Before we start, I have a couple of announcements. One, the PowerPoint deck for this webinar will be shared and we will be posting it on fcc.gov/ACP. And don't worry, at the end of this webinar, we'll have a reference section that you can screenshot that for, so you can make sure that you catch the slides for the slide deck. Secondly, we will be recording this webinar and posting it at the same place. And I tell you this separately because perhaps there might be a delay between posting a slide deck and posting a big video. So other things I want to just tell you about. You're going to hear an email address often. That is our one-stop shop for information. Our team at the FCC's Consumer Affairs and Outreach Division triages that email address. And we make sure that the FCC's best and brightest working on ACP get access to questions or information requests and such. And so I just wanted to say this once, the first time of many you'll hear it. That's acpinfo@fcc.gov. Any request or any information that you want, by all means, please hit us up. So let's start. My original mentor in the way back once told me that the mind can only absorb what the posterior can endure, and we don't want you to wait. So to open this webinar and with our advancement of our first slide, please. And the next slide, please. This is Lyle. This is our agenda. This is what we will be talking about with some of the FCC's best and brightest in both the Wireline Competition Bureau and the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau. So let's start with an introduction to Alejandro Rourke. Alejandro Rourke serves as the chief of the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau, a well-decorated professional. So Alejandro, with our advanced slide being advanced for you, please take it away. Thank you very much for opening us up.
Thank you, Lyle. Good afternoon. Like Lyle mentioned, my name is Alejandro Rourke, and I serve as the Chief of the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau. Thank you all so much for joining today's webinar on the Affordable Connectivity Wind Down Order. As many of you know, in 2021, Congress established the Affordable Connectivity Program in the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which appropriated $14.2 billion. The FCC was tasked to develop and implement the ACP, as well as the ACP outreach and awareness activities, including establishing the agency's first federal grant program. As of this year, the ACP is helping nearly 23 million households get online and stay online with the program's monthly benefit. The ACP has proven effective in ensuring that everyone, regardless of their zip code, so whether you're in rural, urban, and the suburban community, or live on federally recognized tribal lands, everyone can afford the internet connections that they need to participate in today's modern society. So first, I want to start by thanking all of you on the call today for your incredible contributions, insight, creativity, and partnership, bringing this life-changing kind of like affordable internet program to millions of people, many of whom are historically unserved or underserved households. So we were able to meet that incredible, 23 million plus milestone with your help. And so I just want to acknowledge that, it's been a busy last couple of years, year and a half. So thank you again so much for your partnership. Today's meeting, like Lyle mentioned, is to provide our outreach partners with the opportunity to learn more details about the wind down order and to ensure that you and the communities that you serve know where to find more additional information or know who to ask for more information. I want to preface by saying that this conversation is going to be a first in a series of briefings and updates that we will share as we have more information. And as a quick reminder to what Lyle mentioned, the webinar will be recorded and posted on fcc.gov/ACP, along with the PowerPoint slides for easy reference. I also want to acknowledge this moment in the program's life cycle and how without additional funding from Congress, the agency has to begin to prepare for the wind down process. The good news is that this past Wednesday, bipartisan legislation was introduced in both the House and the Senate that would allocate $7 billion more in additional funding for the ACP. So while we welcome congressional action to fund this important program, without that additional funding at this time, the agency must begin to prepare for the wind down process for both the Affordable Connectivity Program and the Affordable Connectivity Outreach Grant Program. So we are continuing to work with our partners on Capitol Hill to share the positive impact of the Affordable Connectivity Program has and continues to make for American consumers. You know, many of those stories of success have come from you all, from our community of practice. So those stories are being shared in all the places where they need to be shared. And we encourage you to continue to share the stories of success because we all know the importance of being connected to affordable broadband and its ability to empower greater access to education and employment opportunities, flexible healthcare options, and more opportunities for 21st century digital success. So again, I just wanted to hop on and say thank you again for your partnership. Thank you for being tuned into this. And just know that this is just a deeper dive into the wind down order. But as we get more information, as we have more updates, we will make sure to schedule kind of follow-up briefings or share more information via our email channel. So thank you again. And at this time, I'm happy to to hand the mic over to Ben Nash from the FCC's Wireline Competition Bureau to discuss the wind down report and order that was published on January 11th. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Alejandro. We can go on to the next slide. Just want to begin this afternoon by talking a little bit about the background of the ACP program. So in 2021, through the bipartisan infrastructure law, Congress tasked the Federal Communications Commission to develop and maintain the Affordable Connectivity Program. This is a federal program that offers eligible households a discount on their monthly internet bill and a one-time discount off the purchase of a laptop, desktop, or tablet computer. Now, since launching in December 2021, nearly 23 million low-income households have been enrolled. However, due to a lack of additional funding from Congress, the ACP is projected to run out of funding in April. Now, I'm going to mention this data a couple of times today. This is an estimate and may change. But as a result, the FCC has begun taking steps to wind down the ACP. Next slide. So last Thursday on January 11th, the FCC issued an order detailing the wind down process. The order does a number of things, including preparing consumers for the end of the ACP. It directs providers to send notices to ACP households regarding the end of the program and the continuation of service, and includes information about the timing, content, and delivery of those notices. It also provides for further announcements from the FCC and USAC about the wind down. And it includes timing of when the FCC will announce the end of the last fully funded month of the program. It establishes an enrollment freeze and discusses its impact on ACP outreach, including grant-funded outreach activities, and it amends the claims process by instituting an expedited claims submission timeline for providers. For more information, I'd encourage you all to read the order itself. It's available on the Commission's website, and the link is here. Next slide. So as we talk about wind down, there's a couple important dates to keep in mind. The first is last Thursday, January 11th, when the FCC issued an order laying out the wind down processes and important dates, including the enrollment freeze and the impacts on consumers, internet companies, and ACP outreach grant recipients. On February 7th, 2024, this will be the last day that the ACP will accept new applications and enrollments. eligible households must be approved and enrolled with an internet company by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on February 7th to receive the ACP benefit. Starting on February 8th, 2024, there will be no more enrollments into the ACP. Starting late January 2024, households that are currently receiving an ACP monthly benefit will start to receive notices from their internet companies with information about the end of the ACP benefit. This information will include the timing of the end of the program and the impact of the loss of the benefit on the household's bill and service. And then in April 2024, the FCC anticipates the existing ACP funding to run out, with only a partial benefit available in May if Congress does not provide additional funding. Households that are enrolled in the ACP will continue to receive their benefit on their internet service through April 2024, but this date may change. Next slide. So before February 7th, 2024 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, to receive a benefit, eligible households that are not currently enrolled and wish to receive the benefit should submit completed ACP applications and, if approved, contact a participating internet provider to receive the ACP benefit. Households that are enrolled and receiving the benefit by 11:59 p.m. Eastern on February 7th will continue receiving monthly discounted broadband service from their internet company through the end of ACP as long as the household stays enrolled in the program and is eligible for the benefit. Next slide. So during the enrollment freeze, on February 8th, ACP will begin an enrollment freeze, which means the ACP will not accept new applications and providers can no longer sign up new households for the benefit. Households who are enrolled with an internet company by February 7th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time and remain enrolled in the program will continue to receive their ACP benefits during the wind down period. As ACP funding runs out, households who are enrolled in the ACP will receive notices from their internet company about when the program will end and information about options to continue service without the ACP benefit. Again, April is projected to be the last month households will receive the full ACP benefit. After April 2024, if Congress does not provide additional funding, the ACP anticipates existing ACP funds to run out at the with only a partial benefit available for May 2024. The ACP will no longer have funds to provide benefits and discounts to households. Subscribers who participate in the ACP are encouraged to see if they also qualify for the Lifeline program. Eligible consumers can get up to $9.25 off the cost of phone, internet, or bundled services, and up to $34.25 if they live on qualifying tribal lands. Consumers can apply for the Lifeline program at lifelinesupport.org. Next slide. I'm now going to turn it over to back over to Alejandro, the Chief of our Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau, for this next section. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. So I just wanted to take a quick moment to acknowledge there's a couple of different stakeholders, a few different stakeholders actually, in fact, on the line and where you can get more information. So if we can go to the next slide, please. If you are a grantee, we encourage you to stay connected with our ACP grants team. There is actually a webinar that's scheduled for later today, I think at 2 p.m. And they'll continue to have more office hours. So between now and February 2nd, here is the information that you need. But please stay in contact with Miriam and Joy and our National Community Impact Managers at the FCC. They will have all this information and are happy to send you more links and resources, again, as we have more information. So for grantees, please keep in touch with your main point of contact here at the FCC. They will be the best source of information. And of course, all information can be found at fcc.gov/ACP grants management. Next slide, please. For ISPs, we encourage you to stay connected with USAC. They are also having wind down office hours. So today, I think at 3 p.m. So a lot of things happening today. They have already hosted one webinar that talks ISPs through the wind down process and what's in the order. So you can access it by visiting the USAC website. And again, we are happy to include a link, Lyle. There's a link that we can share along with this deck if people want an easy one-click solution there. So providers, please keep in touch with USAC. They have all the information that you need. And then I think on the last slide, we want to make sure that for consumers, we still encourage consumers that are experiencing any type of issue with their ACP benefit to please contact our ACP support center at 877-384-2575. We have multilingual call center operators that can help and answer any questions you can have. You can also send an email to acpinfo@fcc.gov. And then, of course, you can, if you're online, submit an informal complaint through consumercomplaints@fcc.gov. So again, this is just the first rollout of the information that we have available at this moment. And there will be more that we will communicate via through email, through office hours and webinars. So please keep in touch, stay tuned into the convo, and we are happy to share information as we have it. So with that, I'm happy to turn the mic back over to Lyle Ishida. Lyle, thank you.
Thank you very much, Alejandro, and thank you all for your continued interest on the topic. Next slide, please. So one thing we would like to do at our division is find ways to work together. We've continued throughout the ACP rollout campaign to have great work and relationships with people who are working in their communities and in their towns. And so for the potential rollout information, so here's some informational resources I want to cue you with. The website fcc.gov/ACP have a number of fact sheets translated in different languages, an FAQ that is really informative, and an ASL video that we want you to make sure that you know about and socialize around folks in your communities and in your circles. Again, the Consumer Complaints Center at the Consumer Complaints website that you see there is a really direct way for consumers to file informal complaint on service providers not following the wind down proceedings. Emails, inquiries, whether they are requests or information requests, go to acpinfo@fcc.gov. And then separately, the division have done a whole lot of virtual webinars when we rolled up the ACP, and we would love to continue to work together with you. So a request for a guided webinar on the rolled on procedures will go to ACP speakers at fcc.gov, and USAC Support Center 877-384-2575 is really a great way for consumers to get information updates on application status and questions about the wind down. Next slide, please. So again, this is just reporting what we're going to do. One thing we want to do on the second bullet is we want to offer, again, printed materials at no cost to you on the ACP fact sheet and the ACP FAQ. So it's easy to get. So we would need just a point of contact and a mailing address that's without PO boxes, because FedEx doesn't use PO boxes. In about a week, get acpinfo@fcc.gov. Just let us know, hey, I want a fact sheet. I want 17 fact sheets at this address, 123 Maple Street or whatever. And then we'll get it to you in about a week or so. As a reminder, before we go into Q&As, right? After February 8th, 2024, sorry, this is Lyle's typo. Can't figure out what year I'm in. So there will be no ACP awareness related activities or campaigns because we will have hit the deadline. Next slide, please. Before we go into questions and answers, I just want to put this up here to also give you contacts of some great people who work in the Bureau on both ACP and other telecom related policy matters who you may hear from during the Q&A session. Susie Rosen Singleton is chief of our Disability Rights Office. Bridget Gomez is chief of our Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. Bambi Krause is chief of our Office of Native Affairs and Policy. And Miriam Montgomery has a really great governmental title, but she's just really grants chief for the ACP outreach grants. They're there. You can save their contact information when you get your PowerPoint deck posted tomorrow on fcc.gov/ACP. But I just wanted to put in a plug for that because you will find no greater team of folks who are committed to public service. Next slide, please. And with that, we'd like to sort of begin a Q&A session. So I want to bring to the webinar Kayla Hernandez Ulloa, Deputy Chief of the CCB Consumer Affairs and Outreach Division. Kayla, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lyle. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending where you are right now. As Lyle said, I'm Kayla Hernandez Ulloa, Deputy Chief for the Consumer Affairs and Outreach Division, part of the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau. I want to start by saying, if you don't remember anything we discussed today, please remember that all requests, any questions you may still have, requests for printouts and such can be sent to acpinfo@fcc.gov. And so now we're going to go to the portion of the questions and answers. There's a lot of them that have been submitted by everyone here. Some of the ones that I have right now are directed to Miriam Montgomery, who's our Grants Management Policy Advisor. So for Miriam, I do have the following questions. The first one is, will this end the grant portion of the program sooner than anticipated? So Miriam.
Hi, Kayla. Thank you for that question, and hello, everyone. As Kayla mentioned, my name is Miriam Montgomery, and I lead our outreach efforts here at the Commission. So, will the wind down of ACP impact the Affordable Connectivity Outreach Grant Program? And the answer is yes. As you all may know, the primary objective of the Affordable Connectivity Outreach Grant Program is to provide eligible governmental and non-governmental entities with the funding and resources needed to help increase awareness of and participation in the program among eligible households. As the FCC begins winding down of the Affordable Connectivity Program, the need for awareness and enrollment support activities to assist eligible households will not be necessary after the enrollment freeze, which is currently, February 7th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. The FCC is issuing a guidance to the grantee community on how the ACP wind down will impact the open grants that are currently in place and what kind of the next transition will look like.
Great, thank you for that. And also, so we have another question here about just regular information. So can grantees still use the ACP grants@fcc.gov email address to get more information?
Yes, so there's different ways that we are sending out information. We continue to, for primary grant recipients, so these are the approximately 240 governmental and non-governmental organizations that are the prime grant recipients. We have, we're sending information out directly to them. We're also publishing information on the website that we shared earlier. We also have webinars, office hours, various other mechanisms to make sure that they're getting the information. And if, you know, I know there are a lot of consumer groups here and those that may not be part of a prime grant organization, but are supported and affiliated with those granting organizations, either as a subrecipient or a contractor or whatever other means. And for that community, you know, we encourage you to go to the ACP grants website, as you know, that is available and open to the general public. But we also encourage you to make sure that you're working closely with the prime grant recipient, as similar to how we're releasing guidance on the grant program in general. And in this particular instance, what winding down the outreach grant program would look like. Those, you know, primary grant organizations may also have their own guidance that they will be releasing to their subrecipients and contractors. So there's various ways to get information, and just highly recommend to choose the different paths that are available. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Miriam. For the next question, this one will go to Susie Rosen Singleton, who is our chief for our Disability Rights Office. Want to make sure that Susie's here. Great, there she is. Thank you, Susie.
Hello.
So this question is for you. It's, what is the FCC doing to inform the households, especially households in the accessibility community who are currently enrolled in the ACP?
Can you see me okay? All right, great. So I was frozen on the screen there for just a moment, but this is Susie Rosen Singleton. Thank you so much for that question, and hello, everybody. As you've heard from previous speakers, the FCC during this wind down process, our goal is to ensure that ACP households are well informed about the end of this program, its impact on their internet bills, and to help ACP households stay connected after the ACP ends. So we in the Disability Rights Office are working closely with key state nationwide as well as local representatives to help and ensure communication is happening throughout their organization and with members. With the Disability Advisory Committee, we are doing such. Consumers can sign up for Access Info to receive information about the FCC's accessibility and disability updates by sending an email to accessinfo@fcc.gov. You will be added to the listserv then to keep informed, as well as your communities can be informed as well about the FCC's accessibility work that we're doing to support you all. You can contact us also through an ASL line. You may have already heard that number, but here it is again, 844-432-2275. That is for people who use video phones and ASL. You can also go to the ACP page at www.fcc.gov/ACP. There are ASL videos there that you can share widely with your communities, and please do feel free to reach out to us directly and through that email address on this slide, info@fcc.gov, for assistance.
Thank you so much, Susie. Another question here that we have, this one is, I'm going to address it to Bambi Kraus, who is the chief of our Office of Native Affairs and Policy. There is Bambi. So this question is, are there other federal programs that households on tribal lands should consider for assistance with internet costs now that ACP is winding down?
Well, thank you, Kayla. As Ben mentioned during the slide deck presentation, if you currently receive the ACP benefit, you may still qualify for the Lifeline program to save on internet service. The Lifeline program is another federal program that makes phone and internet service more affordable. If you qualify for Lifeline, you can get a monthly benefit of up to $9.25 off the cost of phone, internet, or bundled services. The monthly benefit for households on qualifying tribal lands is up to $34.25 off the cost of phone, internet, or bundled services. On slide 10 that Ben had shared earlier, there was a URL for more information about the Lifeline program, and that is lifelinesupport.gov. And it's not case specific. So thank you very much, Kayla.
Thank you. We have another question here for Bridget Gomez, who is the chief of our Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. Waiting to.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, here we go. Thanks, Bridget. I was waiting to make sure you were on. Okay, so the question for you is, as the FCC's Chief of Intergovernmental Affairs Office, you're frequently interacting with elected and appointed leaders about the FCC happenings and now ACP. Not that there's planning for a potential wind down, what are some of the planning best practices that you've encountered that are good ideas for anyone here to kind of learn from?
A great question, and actually just want to echo that all of you on this call are the reason that so many folks are connected. You are the trusted messengers, and that's really ultimately what a lot of our local leaders are. They are the trusted messengers, and you have a big platform. That's both through your access with your own websites, your own access to your listservs, and most importantly, for those that are local electeds, the access they have to a lot of entities and other trusted local leaders. So one of the things that a lot of folks have done is use the opportunities of their listservs to share the latest updates, and it can be information overload. So almost naming in what you saw on one of the slides on the deck here, the top important dates to remember. One is, if you are eligible, you can still enroll, but you have to enroll by February 7th at 11:59 p.m. And that enrollment includes the 3 pieces. You have to apply, be accepted into the program, and then contact a participating provider to get connected. So, and the other date is that in the transparency that the program's funds are set to expire, get fully, you can get your benefits fully funded, your discount for the month of April. Beyond that, funds right now are currently to sunset. So with that, I think making sure that you share the critical pieces and dates to folks. And the other area that folks have shared is, I think when folks have already been doing a lot of outreach, that's both via in-person events and meetings, things that you may already have scheduled, make sure that you use that opportunity to lift this information so that nobody is surprised and that folks can prepare for when ACP is officially winded down and ended. And so I'd say, I think those have been some of the best practices that folks have shared. And most importantly, within governments and local states, it's making sure that folks are communicating that and discussing that internally so that at their opportunities, they can take advantage of echoing the same message together so that folks are hearing the same message and not getting confused about what is happening. And most importantly, echoing to the community that it is not done yet, so that nobody is scared that the program has ended as of today. We don't want to see confusion. And so your leadership there and communicating that it's a process and that right now it's to make sure folks are informed about what will happen in the future is critical. But I would say those 3 pieces of leveraging your own access to internet, your websites, your email, using outreach, in-person events, opportunities that you already have scheduled. And for some people, they've also have access to local leaders, whether that's your churches or whether that's your radio stations, and making sure that we're not pushing out that misinformation, but sharing the correct information and dates so that nobody, again, is confused or scared. And I will pause there because there's many more activities, but I'd say those are probably the most.
Thank you, Bridget. We have a lot of questions that are continuing to roll in. I'm going to address these next few questions to Ben Nash, and I hope I pronounced your last name correctly, my colleague from the Wildlife Competition Bureau. There he is. Okay, so one of the questions we have here is, when will the FCC announce the last fully funded month for ACP?
Thanks, Kayla. So the wind down order that was released last Thursday actually lays this out and requires that the commission do the announcement at least 60 days prior to the end of the last fully funded month. So if we work backwards and the last fully funded month is April, like it's currently projected, the announcement would come out sometime in February. Of course, if that April date shifts, then the announcement would come out sooner or later, depending, but 60 days before the end of the last fully funded month.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think I'm going to keep you on for a while. There are a lot of questions here for you. If Congress provides additional funding, will the freeze be lifted?
So if, and Alejandro pointed out at the beginning of this, that there has been legislation proposed, should there be more funding from Congress, the FCC, their announcements and information about what will be happening to the program. So stay tuned.
And yet another one for you. Will I be automatically enrolled in another program like Lifeline when ACP ends?
Sure. So that's a great question. And there's been a lot of talk about the Lifeline program, but you will not automatically be enrolled in Lifeline if and when ACP ends. You need to enroll yourselves. It's important to note that you don't have to wait for ACP to end to enroll in Lifeline. You can apply now. And to do so, visit lifelinesupport.org for more information on how to enroll.
Thank you for that. So now for this portion, because there's still a lot in the Q&A, and thank you to the audience for submitting your questions. We may not get to all your questions because I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but there are a few questions here that Ben, I'm going to keep you on so that you can help answer these. So there are consumers here concerned about recertification for ACP. So some consumers are asking, attendees are asking, since ACP is winding down, if I receive a notice for recertification, should I recertify?
That's a great question. Households should continue to respond to requests to recertify their eligibility receive in order to receive the benefit through the end of the program.
Great, and as I'm scrolling down, I'm trying not to give you all the same questions, but a lot on that came about. Someone is asking here. Let's see, here we go. So some consumers are asking about, let's see, I've already recertified for ACP, and a friend completed a paper application. During the wind down period, are paper applications still being processed? I may be experiencing technical difficulties. Okay. I think
we couldn't hear Ben either.
okay. I thought it was me. I believe.
Kayla, this is Jessica Campbell from the FCC. I can take that one.
Okay.
While we work out the kinks here. I think your question was, will paper applications continue to be processed? And the answer is yes, but up until that February 7th deadline, our recommendation, since we're a couple of weeks out, is if consumers want to apply for the ACP benefit, we really encourage consumers to use getinternet.gov and to process, apply electronically online, because that will, I think, be a quicker process for consumers given the upcoming deadline.
Great, thank you, Jessica. And as you're speaking, another one is coming here too. I believe this is similar, but how does a consumer know if they've checked the box that would allow the ISP to opt them in to continue the service after the end of ACP?
Unmuted. Can you hear me?
Let's see.
Yes, we can.
Yes, I can hear you, Jessica.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I was muted. You think we know how to use Zoom by now in 2024. So yeah, the question was, how do I know whether I've opted in or not? And, and I recognize that for some households, they may have opted in to continue receiving service when they signed up for the emergency broadband benefit program, which of course got started in 2021. My recommendation there is to contact your provider. They will have records of, what you've consented to when you signed up. I think it's also important to kind of reflect on, were you a paying customer for that broadband service before you started receiving, the benefit on that plan? And are you currently contributing to the cost of your broadband service with the ACP benefit? If you can answer yes to any of those questions, your provider will likely continue to provide you broadband service at an undiscounted rate after the end of ACP. If you do not wish to continue with that undiscounted service plan after the end of ACP, households should reach out to their providers and opt out, and to also discuss with them what other plans that may be available that may be within budget for them.
Great, thank you for that. And the questions keep rolling in. So here's someone who's asking, are ISPs going to continue their low-cost ACP plans, which I think is similar, but they also ask, what happens to consumers who pay for phone and TV as part of a packaged plan? Will they automatically be opted in and get a bill for the entire package once funding ends?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I think this is going to be really important here for the consumers to communicate with their providers on this. Really, it's the opt-in is specific to that broadband service, but if it's part of a package, and I'm thinking particularly like mobile phone packages, this is going to be important to talk to your consumer about what you should expect after the end of ACP, and to also keep a lookout from notices from your provider that will set out for you what the impact will be on your service and bill after the end of ACP. And if again, what you're seeing from the provider is not going to work for you, call that provider and talk to them about options.
Okay. Here's another questions. Are there any protections for current ACP subscribers to ensure that they will not receive a bill or fee from their internet service providers after the subsidy ends if they choose not to continue unsubsidized service? And the person adds, i.e. protections against automatic re-enrollment, equipment relate turn fees, and other potential fees.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be important for us to hear at the FCC what households are experiencing here. We are expecting providers to comply with wind down requirements. I mean, those are requirements from an FCC order. If you're experiencing something that doesn't seem right, that you're getting bills that you didn't consent to after the end of ACP, let us know. I think we have shared previously the link and the contact information for the FCC Consumer Complaint Center.
Great, thank you so much for that. Let's see. And somebody is also asking, see, a lot of these are, I'm looking at a lot of the questions I'm looking through. There are a lot of people, so I can answer this one. A lot of people are asking, and we have said it before, but it's worth repeating again. A lot of consumers are asking, where can I get today's slide deck? And as was said before, it will be posted at www.fcc.gov/ACP. And just in case anyone wants to send us information or ask questions, they can always use the email address acpinfo@fcc.gov. So looking at the time, I will move on from questions. There is one more slide that I'd like to share with the audience. And next, so I will say next slide, please. Here are references and resources for everyone. I will be reading through the information, but please feel free, to take notes as I'm moving along. So for example, I will start with the top and move my way down. For FCC printables, which were mentioned before, this you can also find currently at fcc.gov/ACP. We have the FAQ for the ACP wind down, and we also have the ACP wind down fact sheet on our site. They're both currently available in English and Spanish. So for these printables, send an email request to acpinfo@fcc.gov. Please include a point of contact and a mailing address, and not a post office box, because we deliver to mail address. And please include the number of printed materials requested. So if you want 10 FAQs in Spanish and 10 fact sheets in English, please let us know all that information. The ACP wind down fact sheet, as I said, is already available at fcc.gov/ACP. We have here on the screen the URL for the ACP wind down sheet, www.fcc.gov/sites/files/ACP_wind-down_fact_sheet_final.pdf. So it is in PDF form. We also have the address for the ACP wind down FAQs, www.fcc.gov/sites/default/files/acp_wind_down_FAQs_V as in Victor, F as in Frank, _clean_final.pdf. If anyone is interested in scheduling a virtual speaker between now and February 7th, please send an email request to acpspeakers@fcc.gov. Please include the date and time and let us know the number of audience members. This lets us better prepare for just knowing how many people will be in the room. Our FCC ACP website, and you've been hearing this a lot, is www.fcc.gov/ACP. USAC, the Universal Service Administrative Company, which manages the application process, has an ACP support center. It was mentioned before, but I will mention it again. The support center can be reached at 877-384-2575. You can call this number for updates on the status of your application. If you have any questions about the ACP wind down, this is the number to call. And again, that ACP support center is 877-384-2575. And finally, the FCC continues to have its Consumer Complaint Center available to file any formal complaints regarding service providers, especially those that are not following FCC wind down proceedings. But again, a reminder that you can use this for all types of complaints. And that address is https://consumercomplaints.fcc.gov/ac/e as in Eric, N as in Nancy -US. For now, this concludes our webinar for today. Please remember, I will close by saying thank you for coming here today. acpinfo@fcc.gov for any questions or concerns you may have with the wind down. Our ASL line is 432-2275. And again, all this information will be posted at fcc.gov/ACP. So thank you all for attending today.